Show. Peter G. Show. Divorced dad, single dad. Divorced dad, single dad. Peter G. Show.
Sunday night with you, me, and a few million of our closest friends right here, right now. Sunday night, Sunday. Life of Peter G, the Peter G Show. So happy to be here. And I mean that. How the hell is everybody as we get warmed up here? Let's all catch up. I want to share. I always do that. I take my Facebook page, and I'm going to talk about that for a minute, too, because I am a little bit deterred. Actually, I'm a lot of bit deterred. But, yeah, I'm pissed. Let's just be honest. But I'll tell you that in a second as I share the show through my official Peter G. Show Facebook page. Sharing is caring. Right now, I'm doing it right now. We have several pages on Facebook, but the official Peter G. Show Facebook page is the only page that you can comment live on Facebook, that is. Let's, oh, Paul, you're on the wrong page. I can't see you. I mean, I see you right now, but you got to go on the official page so they can all see your comments, so they can see you go, hey, Pete. All right. Also, if you're on LinkedIn, you can comment live. I'd say you can comment live on YouTube, but for those of you who've heard me dispute this past week, I'm suspended for 2 weeks. Apparently, once again, they did not like what we had to say. The truth. Naughty. But so there's no show on YouTube right now, and it's too bad because this is going to be a great show tonight. But it will go up onto YouTube once they take me off of suspension in 2 weeks from now. But I'm on my second strike and third strike, and the thing is, I had no idea that I was doing anything wrong. I really didn't. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong, and they're just after me. And the third strike, they will completely wipe out the channel. Then I'll have to, recreate. And that kind of sucks. It's just the hassle of it all. But they have they pull the strings. This is what happens, folks. Cancel culture at its finest. But either way, tonight's show is going to be a great show. I think tonight, a lot of times I say we're doing God's work, but tonight we are really doing God's work. I mean, really doing God's work. I mean, really doing God's work. It's going to be a great show. I have Pastor Ray Poellot on the show tonight. And we'll talk to him about how he helps the helpless. He's on the East Coast. It's getting cold over there, too. I'm going to tell that story in a minute or two. But you have to be a special kind of person to be Pastor Ray, I feel. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. I think being with the holidays and all, this is the perfect time to have him on. And I'm really glad that I have him on tonight. But that's coming up in a few minutes. So again, folks, I was banned for 2 weeks now for YouTube, and I apologize. I'm trying to keep it within the limits, but I don't know what the limits are. The limits are whatever they don't agree with. And, you can't have an opinion anymore. But I'm a professional. I'll rise above it. That was last week's show when I had guest. I'm the host. So sometimes I wonder, but I digress. I had founder and creator. I know, right? Bad boy. What am I going to do? I brought the founder and creator of another platform from TLB Talk, freedom of speech, Facebook without the Facebook jail. And lo and behold, Facebook's not spanking me for any of this. It's all Google, YouTube, which I'm really shocked. I thought I was going to catch more help from Facebook. That's why I've been jumping onto the YouTube wagon saying, hey, we need to be subscribing to all these platforms I'm on because one way or another, I'm going to get my ass kicked on one or two of them because I refuse to bow down. And I don't do it all the time. But there's times when I need to bring on certain subject matter because I feel it needs to be told. You can listen to it and do what you want with it. I don't tell anybody what to do. I'm just sharing information, stories. But, until we get this thing on a real network, they got me. They pulled the strings. I could just, move on to the next camping ground. But anyway, last week was a great show, I think. It was full of, opinions and ideas about, what's going on in our world right now, and a place you can go and talk about it and voice it without being cut down, and they didn't like it. They said it was medical misinformation, which I'm telling you, if we talked about anything, medical, it was a fraction, an opinion about, the old new thing they put in your arm, and an opinion about the thing you catch for the reason they put the thing in your arm. Like it or not. Like it or not. Anyway, that was last week, and I'm banned, and that's that. So hang with me. I love you all. I do. I appreciate your loyalty. You notice they're putting up, everybody I know has already got their trees up. Not everybody I know, but a lot of people, they already have their Christmas trees up. People are dying to be normal, to have some wholesomeness, to have something that feels good. I know so many people, I'm already seeing it on Facebook, they got the Christmas trees up. Halloween was like down with the Halloween, up with the Christmas. It's Thanksgiving in 2 more weeks, people, don't forget. Lots of stuff to be grateful for in this crazy world and these crazy times. But we'll talk about that as we go through these next few weeks. The holidays. I love the holidays. I really do. I tell you, it's really great to be here. It's going to be a great show tonight. It really is. I know it is. I can feel it. Jalapeno. No, all seriousness. I'm kidding. We have to laugh with a lot of the crap we go through because crying is just enough of that. And I just like taking everything and having a decent time with it. And believe me, I'm the worst at not letting things go. I'm reminded of it a lot. But I'm grateful, so grateful. I am. At the end of the day, people don't hear my inner thoughts. I just bitch about stuff because I like it. It's good therapy. For you and for me. Anyway, Christmas is going to be quickly upon us. Oh, quickly, people. Where am I? Forgetting. Please, please, please subscribe to something. Where am I? Banners. Yeah, there it is. Subscribe. Find the YouTube channel. I still have faith. I'm not going to get, unless they really kick me off of YouTube. I still say subscribe to YouTube, LinkedIn, or the official Facebook Peter G. Show page. I'm on Instagram too, all that. Just subscribe. It makes it easier to find me in case one, you don't only do one, do them all. Because in case, I'm telling you, they got their eye on me. They do. I don't know why. I'm not that big a deal. Or am I? But they got their eye on me, and it sucks because they got their eye on me. But life goes on. I will not back down, as Tom Petty said. I won't back down. Subscribe. Find me and subscribe. And again, if you know people who are worthy of, that have a great story and want to tell it on this show, something that would be worth something to other people to learn from, don't be shy. Info at Peter G. Show. Let's hear what you got going on. Believe me, you may not think it's much, but it could be probably something a lot more than what you think. So please, okay? I was going to tell you a story about something that happened to me just this afternoon, but damn it, we're just going to have to wait. And it's really, it's confrontational, but about the world we're living in right now. And I just happened to become part of it in a parking lot this afternoon about the jabbed and unjabbed. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But I'm not going to do that now because we have bigger fish to fry. I hear the calling. I hear the calling of Pastor Ray. God said to me, "Bringeth thou Pastor Ray unto your show, and thou shalt receive mucho goodness in the heart. Wow. That's some serious stuff. Real quick, I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry, God. Just one more thing, okay? I'm serious. Just one more thing. Okay, but you're running behind. Hurry up. We are finally, the Peter G Show is finally back on podcasts after a 1.5-year hiatus. Our shows all go to podcast now, okay? So look them up on iTunes. You can take the show on the road with you. You can listen to the show while you're at work, while you're driving in the car, but don't forget, let's review one more time. Peter G Show. Oops, watch my fingers. Peter G Show. I know, flashcards, right? Just like school. Peter G Show. Back on podcast. You can listen in the car, listen anywhere you want without having to be tied down watching something. I appreciate when you're watching, but so long as you're paying attention. Where can you find it? Right now, you find it on iTunes, and it's going to be spreading onto all the other ones as we keep accumulating more shows. The Spotify's and all these other places, audio, all these other places will be picking it up. I know they will because they did the last time. But we had a hiatus. We're back on, baby. Podcast, Peter G Show. Do it. Do it. All right. Now, without further ado, Pastor Ray, are you ready to shake your head for me? Good. Wow. It just seems like I can't. Time just starts flying. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, from the East Coast, it's way late over there, but he's been gracious enough to give me his time so we can share with you. Pastor Ray. Hey.
Hi, Peter.
How are you?
Blessed and highly favored. That was quite an introduction.
Yes. Well, I do. I mean, all kidding aside, I don't really, just go out there and scream it, but I do take things from a higher authority. And sometimes they speak to me out loud.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, okay. For those of you who, and I forgot that too. Sorry, Pastor Ray. I'm just all over the map today. I just can't. There you go. I need people, and I get out of practice. But tell everybody. I mean, I know you. I've been watching you on Facebook through Bob Paff of all. Like I said, I think divine intervention, as my friend Paul says. I found you through Bob Paff, and I watched you when you were on his show. And then I started picking up on you. I mean, because you have a great message, and the things you do, it's like I dare anybody to put themselves out there and do what you do. And I think it's great work. And I just really quickly, I want you to tell everybody what you're doing, and then we're going to go backwards and we're going to start from the beginning on how you became to what you're doing. But if you would be so kind to tell everybody where you are, what you do, and how you do it, and all that, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Sure. We're just we're outside of Baltimore, and we have the Church Without Walls, and we literally have church outside. For years, I drug people to big churches, and it would be one and done. The people that we deal with live in tents. Most of them are addicts, alcoholics, or mental, and by having church outside, they come every week, and because of the way that God works in their lives, we're able to see maybe 20 people a year get off of drugs, get into a program, and get out of the woods. Now, on the flip side of that, we also see about 20 a year die. And when I say 20 a year, I'm talking about a small circle that we deal with, which is, well, pre-COVID, we dealt with maybe 56 on average on any given week. Now it's maybe 25 or 30. My main approach is to first lead them to Christ. I think that brokenness, homelessness, addiction, all those things, they don't know where to turn, and they are battling demons. A lot of it is spiritual warfare. I don't want to get hyper spiritual with you, but I do believe that God goes to the uttermost parts of the earth to find anybody because he wants to save them. And being saved, maybe in a church, is say, okay, Jesus, come into my heart. Being saved when you're living in a tent is get me through another day. Now, most of the guys that we deal with and ladies, they're street hustlers. They know how to panhandle. They know how to steal. We just don't judge them at all. We just love them and love them and love them. And I've known some of them that are still in the woods for 10 years or more. Most of them on average 3 or 4 years before they either die or get out of the woods. But we have a personal relationship. I'm sort of like a father to them. And you had mentioned it getting cold. It's really, I mean, last night it was maybe 34 degrees. A couple of days ago, it hit freezing. When you're living in a tent, that's cold. But come December and January, it'll be minus 20. And
Right.
that is bitter cold. So we buy heaters and, get them clothes, food, just kind of take care of their needs as best that we can. We're not funded by social services or anything like that. Some of those programs are available. They choose not to go. It's just not in their makeup at this point.
Right. Let me ask you something. Do you think, okay, so you deal with a lot of homeless, a lot of drug addicts and things like that, alcoholics. Do you think they come to you just to get stuff? Or do you honestly think that like a lot of these people, I mean, because I get it. I mean, I know a lot of normal people that have decent lives that the only time they'll cop religion is if like they're in a plane and the turbulence is scaring the living hell out of them, and they're like, oh God, please, just get me through this plane flight and everything goes okay, and then they're back to their normal lives. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a difference,
Right,
of like believing and truly believing.
there's a whole group. Like if I go into the city, there's a whole group that's what they want is stuff. Understand, we take stuff as a tool, just like Jesus performed miracles. Well, people needed stuff. Jesus performed miracles and a bunch of people followed. We give food, clothing, and, basic living things so that they have hope. But because we do it consistently, they come to say, something's going on here. These people are different. And they come to trust us. They love us. We love them. When they go to the hospital, they call us. When they, they get hit by a car, they get beat up, any drama or something, they call us first. Even the local police departments, they know about our ministry. We do it outside, because when you go into a church, particularly if you're already beat up with self-esteem issues, you have a fear of being put down or judged. Whether that's real or not, I mean, I've taken them to churches where that wasn't the case at all. They were loved on. But with doing it without walls, like this 3 guys in the last 3 months have actually started reading their Bibles. And I've gone to their tent and their Bible is open and they're highlighting things. That's it's kind of discipleship. It's not like you would picture in a big church with a Bible college or something like that, but it's bringing them along spiritually and encouraging them, giving them help, giving them love. Everything we do is love. And
Right.
from a spiritual point of view, that's what Christ is. God is love.
Right.
So we just do it with no strings attached.
Right. I get it. Again, I told you how, and I don't know, from following you, and I'm gonna tell the story again only because it was just between you and I, and when I saw you on Bob Half's show, which I believe he's watching tonight, he's staying up late for us.
Wow.
For you. I think more for you, not for me. He can give a shit about me.
He's a great friend.
Yeah, and like I said, I think everything happens for a reason, and not only that, but I think you have to get off the couch to make things happen. But if it's there, available, and it happens, is because you make it happen, or we make it happen.
Right.
And the thing is that I said, you know what, it might be a good thing to bring you on, because I saw a picture on Facebook, and you were talking about these people that live in tents. And I saw a picture that there was a tent, and it was like half covered over in snow. And I can't even imagine that, because you were saying, hey, we need to collect heaters. We need to, get blankets and things like that. And I happened to see your post on Facebook, because you're very vocal, so to speak, on Facebook. That, I think, is your main platform, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. So I saw it on Facebook, And I said, you know what, I should bring you on the show because it's the holidays, and I'm all about the holidays. I mean, I think every day, like, sitting down for Thanksgiving with people, your family, that's great. But you should be thankful for every time you get to sit at the table or something with people you love and all that, your family and friends. Because
Absolutely.
like, I don't have family anymore. I have my daughter now, and to me, it's not about that one day. It's about every day, but it just brings a little extra emphasis on the whole deal. And I saw that, and I'm talking to my daughter as I pick her up every morning if she's not with me, and to take her to do her chores for horses. And I said, I got this Pastor Ray that's, I want to have him on the show, and I can bring him in right before Christmas because I want to bring him on for the holidays because I saw this picture of the tent with the snow, and these people are homeless. They don't have anything. And she looked at me and she says, it's pretty cold over there. And I go, yeah. She goes, well, why are you putting him on right before Christmas? I go, well, it says I have the date available, and I just thought it'd be great before the holidays. And she looked at me and she says, isn't there any way you can get him on earlier? Because if it's already getting cold on the East Coast, he's going to need, to talk about this stuff now. And I was like, huh, little girl, you're right. She just went right through me, as she always does with her common sense, because I'm oblivious. I'm an idiot. But I thought I was doing a good thing, which it would have been a good thing, but I needed to do it sooner than later.
Right.
And so then I called you and I said, can you do it now? And you said yes. And all the more reason, because the weather is getting cold over there, and you need to get all that stuff now, not later, and help.
Right.
Correct.
So
that's
kind of what when Bob and I met, he saw they did a little section on the news here for the community, and he said, man, I saw this thing on the news. It was great. It was one of my old employers said, yeah, he's a great guy. And so Bob called me. I think we aired on the 4th of July on 2019. And, I gained so many friendships from his show. And then he had me on the radio show for, 5 or 6 times. We go to breakfast frequently. We're going to be working on a documentary. And the word gets out, but like for Facebook, when we put those posts out there, I've had some people that say you shouldn't be doing that. First off, it's not about me. When I put something on Facebook, it's because I want people to see what the homeless are going through. We used to bring Bible college students from other countries to the woods, and they were in shock. They had no idea that people in America live like that. Of course, in your area, you could take them to Skid Row, but Skid Row is pretty much institutionalized homelessness.
Right.
The folks that are there have been there for 15 and 20 years. They know what groups are coming in. They have social services, their own fire department. I went to the tunnels in Vegas in 2019. There's 300 miles of tunnels with 4,000 homeless people living in there. Most people don't know that. They just think about Vegas being a party town.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we spent 6 days down there, and they treated us like kings and queens because we took hundreds of flashlights.
What's the purpose of the tunnels?
Well, so when it rains in Vegas, because it's desert, if they didn't have a place under the city for it to go to, the city would flood because it's so dry.
Okay, so there's a drainage.
They call it the wash. You can look at, I think it's on YouTube or Google it. There's tons of articles and documentaries on it. But we just went in there, and a guy actually came out of the tunnel. I said, hey, it's Ray from Baltimore. Got some stuff for you. He came out blinking his eyes and said, Pastor? And I said, how did you know? He said, the Holy Spirit told me. Took us about 1/8 of a mile into the tunnel, had a guy turn a flashlight on. He had a Bible on a table and started reading to us from the Bible. It was amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Bob Paff is staying up watching this show. And I know he's not watching it for me. He's watching it for you. But he's also saying, Bob, and you know what? I didn't think, Bob, turn your phone. I can't do it now. I would have brought him on too. We would have had to go all the way around. We should do that one. We'll do that one of these. I'll tell you what, we'll do that one of these after the first of the year. We'll do it again.
Okay.
He's, Bob is very much on mental illness and drug dependency and all that kind of stuff. And he is all about the public health crisis. A lot of the people you deal with, a lot of mental illness too.
Yes. Well, it's probably about 2%. And most of, like we take people out to eat after church. We take them to IHOP or I make food for them or somebody makes food for them. And a couple of weeks ago, we were in IHOP, and a lady two of the guys were talking about what kind of pancakes syrup they wanted, and the lady just started screaming, "I feel very threatened," and she started crying. And I put my hand on her. I said, "In the name of Jesus, calm down. Go sit at the other end of the table." So she did, and then 15 minutes later, the same thing. Well, for the guys that are in addiction, it was kind of hard. For me, I'm pretty patient because I've seen pretty much everything. But there are a lot of organizations that we don't really have to connect them. Social services finds most of the mental cases.
Right.
And then the other thing is you hear about homeless veterans. When we come across one, it's not hard to get them a program at all. For all the negative that they say about the Veterans Administration, there is tons of help out there. And any homeless veteran, or if they're holding up a sign that says homeless veteran, please help, chances are it's bogus, because anybody can get help from the VA.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about veterans. I recently discovered that you are a veteran, correct?
Yes.
Well, tell everybody where you came from.
Well, I was a Marine. I was stationed in D.C. the whole time. They call us pretty boys. We do the parades and funerals and riot control for the Capitol. So no combat.
Well,
I lost my twin. He committed suicide while he was in the Army. And my oldest brother got a 19-inch piece of steel in his leg during Vietnam. And he was so angry, he went and served 2 more tours. And by the time he came back, he was kind of fried. Yeah.
But the fact, look, here's the thing. You didn't know when you went into how did you get into the Marines? Volunteer or draft?
Yeah, I volunteered.
Okay.
It was Vietnam was still going. It was a tail end of it.
But when you went into the Marines, I mean, number one, you went in to be a Marine, which is, hell or high water as far as I'm concerned. There's very little pretty boy stuff, if you want to call it that. But did you know you were going to go marching in parades, or did you just ended up there?
No, because every Marine's an infantryman first.
Right.
You're trained to go to combat first.
No, that's right. Exactly. And that's some dirty business. I mean, it's tough stuff. But okay, let's real quick. Now we talked about what you're doing and how you're doing. How does Pastor Ray go from being a Marine to, I know you told me you were a normal work person. I know you told me you were married and now you're divorced. How does Pastor Ray go from being normal guy and later on in life just becoming a pastor? I mean, because that's dedication in a complete different way as far as I'm concerned. I challenge anybody to try and do what you're doing.
Well, first off, normal people don't go out and look after the homeless and stuff. It's Christ in me. Normal people just don't do that. I mean, when you were talking about the snow on the tent, you used to go down this one trail. Like in 2008, there in this one little area, there were 35 tents spread out in the woods. And I'd go down there at 9 or 10 o'clock at night to shake the snow off the tents, because the folks inside were so high that the tents could collapse on them. And they knew it. And, sometimes people have said, you're not safe. And it's like, I've never worried about that. I won't worry about it. I feel like I got the covering of God. I'm not stupid though. And I've come across one situation where a guy had a couple guns and he was kind of harassing the guys. And I just told him he had to leave, and we had a little spiritual discussion, and he left. And he came back a few months later, and I asked him to leave, and he left. And the next day he went to the neighboring community 5 miles away and got shot to death with 56 bullets by the cops doing a daytime robbery. So, there's a lot of craziness out there. But what got me into it actually was when I was a kid. I went into foster care when I was 11 years old. And my first foster father punched me the very first morning that I woke up. And so I ran away. And this was in Colorado. So I lived on a farmland at the base of the mountains for about 6 weeks. Of course, back then they didn't have pop-up tents and little tiny flashlights and all the things that they have now are cell phones. But it was back in a farm area where I was raised, and the neighbor boys got me blankets, and I made my own tent out of blankets. And I'll never forget pulling a blanket up over my head every night, praying. And that blanket was kind of like the covering of God on me, because I knew if I was praying, I was going to be all right. And I was. I went through a few foster homes and some hard knocks, because everybody has a story. Now you jump way ahead, and after the Marines, I've just always had a heart for the underdog. And I was in a church, and I wasn't always devout Christian, but I always loved people. And I've been in professional level sales and home improvement sales and things like that, and came across a homeless guy, and I need to do something. I went out and bought him a box of toiletries and things like that, and that pretty much started it. And then a couple of small churches I tagged in with. One was called Bridgeway Church, and we would go out at the end of the month to a place in the city. Well, there's Code Blue. It's a big shelter with 300 people. And we take them clothes and hot soup. And another place called Bum Park. It's kind of like Skid Row in miniature. It's a St. Vincent de Paul. It's a big Catholic church, and out in the yard, a lot of the homeless congregate, and churches go there. We take stuff there. And then I went to a big church, and we took the ministry with us. It was called Abundant Blessings at the time, and they changed it to the Midnight Express, because we go out at night taking stuff. And then because of my divorce, I left that church, because it's not cool for pastors to be divorced in some churches. And nothing against the church. It's, they got to protect their reputation. I get that. Don't like it, but I get it.
You were a pastor while you were married?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How many years have you been a pastor?
2008. Since 2008. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So I was married for 31 years, and everybody's got a story. I put too much time away from my marriage. Let's put it that way. Right. At least in some people's opinion. You know how that goes.
Amen.
So I mean, a year ago, I lost everything, my house, my business, everything. And I had a choice, and it was kind of a test of my faith. It's like, okay, Ray, what are you going to do? And it's like, don't sit on your butt, as you were saying earlier, get out and do something. So instead of having the Midnight Express with a big van, said we're going to do the Church Without Walls, and we gathered up some homeless people and had church behind a Wawa. I don't know if you have Wawa out there, but it's a little convenience store.
Uh-huh. And
our first service for the Church Without Walls was last December, and it snowed. And we had one person, and I had one person with me. We went over to a pizza shop, and we've only had church inside one time since then, despite the cold. I mean, if it's raining or snowing, we'll take them to IHOP or a pizza shop and eat and have service there. The restaurants are very accommodating to us. The pizza shop gives me a discount. IHOP doesn't, but we tip them real good, because they treat all of our people with respect.
That's what I was going to ask you. So an IHOP, and here's a plug. If they're being that kind, they're okay with you going in and taking up a bunch of space. And I know you're eating food and all that, but to a lot of customers, they're either into it and understand, or they're going like, what the hell is going on over here? I'm just trying to, eat something. People are weird. It's all kinds of people.
We don't always get the back room. Sometimes we're out in public. And you know what I found, Peter, is that the manager comes and talks to me every time. His name's Tommy. He's awesome. He loves what we're doing. Last Thanksgiving, they gave me containers to put food in, because we take meals out on Thanksgiving and Christmas night, because, churches will go around and give them stuff, but it's cold by the time they get it. We take them out around 8 or 9 o'clock at night on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. So they got a nice hot meal. Wow. And the customers in there, because I always ask when we're eating, what did you learn today? And we go around the table, because I want it to be a time of discipleship. Right. Other customers will go in there and say, praise God, heard what you're doing. One time somebody put $30 toward our bill, which, our bill is $225 or so. Okay, sure. But going out to eat, that fellowship, that it humanizes the homeless, and they're normalized. They feel good. The waitresses and waiters treat us with respect, and they come out of there happy. Every Sunday they love it.
Wow. I just, oops. I do. Oh, I just recently thought about it. Breaking bread is a pretty close to the heart thing for a lot of cultures. You know, sitting down at the table. I mean, think about it. The Last Supper. But I think about, because some of my Hispanic friends. I mean, let's go break bread. That's the way they put it, and that's a big deal for a lot of people.
Well, and in the first church in the book of Acts in the Bible, they went from house to house breaking bread. It's that personal one-on-one interaction. And if there's like 20 of us in there, we still go around the table. We make sure that everybody's listening. Then after that, talk about the football game or whatever you want. But we're going to spend that time having a spiritual discussion about what you learned today. And as a result, some of the guys take notes. Now, these are homeless guys that live in the woods, and they take notes in an outside church service where it's cold, right, so that they don't get caught off guard when we're sitting down. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, again, you have people, I mean, you know, I can't even imagine. I bitch about a lot of stuff, but I remind my daughter daily how grateful and how good we have it, even though in my mind, the struggle is still real. I mean, it's now I'm not sitting on top of any mountain, you know, with no worries. But, you know, I said there's so much to be thankful for, from health on down. But you know, it's crazy, because I look at what you're doing and the time you take and you know, and it's like I mean, how many people do you think that are coming through your doors, you know, and how many people come in and how many people drop off? I mean, what's the revolving door like ratio with you, you know, per month, per year?
Well, there's a core group, and in that core group, they'll be with us for about 4 years. Now we just have, because of the health crisis or whatever you want to call it. It's hard for me to say that. I feel like I'm being disingenuous there.
No, but I watched I know what you're getting ready to go, but go ahead.
So a lot of the homeless have been getting grants. They're getting vouchers, and through this grant, they're getting up to $1,674 a month for rent and utilities. They got to go and get some papers signed, and they got to find a landlord that will accept the voucher that the state or the feds, who's ever paying for it, is going to do it. They showed me their papers this week. I'm stunned. I mean, I'm paying for it through taxes, but right. I'm stunned. But these are folks that are still active in their addiction, and I'm already seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
You're going to leave this little church group where you got a shot of recovery. You're going to be in a house. You're going to invite other homeless people over, and you're going to have a party. Right. And that house is going to be gone. And I know this from experience, because years ago we put a homeless family into an apartment. The second night there, they had a bunch of homeless people over, and they were so out of tune with reality that they lit a fire on the floor like a campfire and caught the apartment on fire.
That sounds like our Congress.
There you go. So there's another end of this too, and that is the support that we get. We had last Thursday, some ladies from surrounding counties contact me, and they'd been working for months gathering up clothes and stuff. And so I drove up there, and I have an SUV. They filled it. And then Saturday they came down, and their cars were full, and we gave out coats and blankets. And I have an extra room in my house that's just stocked. Like, I buy brand new stuff from a flea market. I buy, couple hundred pairs of socks a month. We have that we're giving for Christmas. We're giving them fleece lined thermals. Well, we're giving out thermals right now because, I don't know if they even have thermals in California. I guess if you're in the mountains, but these
for
guys,
style.
Yeah, it's getting cold out. So we give them the thermals that we get from other people now, but then Christmas, we're going to give everybody brand new stuff and, still in the packages and stuff. And we give out tents. Like we gave a guy a tent today because he took in another homeless guy into his tent. We gave him a tent a couple weeks ago. It's a 3-man tent, but when you're living in a 3-man tent, it's nothing. So I say, listen, I'm going to give you a bigger tent that somebody had donated, and you're going to give that tent to such and such. Okay, no problem. And they'll do it.
Sure.
So they take care of each other unless one of them gets locked up or hospitalized. Then they'll go out at night and cut their tent open and steal their stuff.
Yeah, like I said, there's no honor amongst thieves. I don't. Here's what I've been watching since I've seen you talk about a lot of homeless death as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've lost people in there due to what?
Well, not the national health crisis because they don't have TVs. Not one of our folks has gotten sick, by the way. Overdoses. We were doing an interview 2 weeks ago, and when we got to this lady's tent, there was a lady staggering around out front. She still had a syringe in her hand. She had just shot fentanyl. And I said, "Can I interview you?" She said, "Sure." And it was like expletive laden 1 minute. And after 1 minute, she starts beating on herself and then starting to go down and then doing the heroin lean, or I call it the demon dance, where you're just leaning and defying gravity. And then she was on the ground sobbing and pounding herself. But what we caught when she was slightly coherent was, I asked her, "What do you love?" She says, "I love everybody, but life sucks." And I said, "Oh, well," and she said, "And I love my drugs." I said, "Why do you love your drugs?" She said, "It's a vacation because people always let you down." Right. And then she's sitting there crying and beating herself. It's like, no, that's not a vacation. And then the girl that came out of the tent that was with her, she hadn't done as much, I guess. And she just said, "Yeah, I know what I got to do to get clean. I got to go over here to a methadone program. I got to go to detox." And she knew the 4 steps that she needed to get out. She said, "I'm just not ready." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I like it." And we've caught quite a few interviews in the last couple of weeks where they just say, "I don't want the help. I'm not ready." The ones that do get into recovery, and we've been talking to a lot of them and connecting with recovery houses, that the common thread is, "I'm just tired." You know, your self-esteem is down to nothing. You're out panhandling. People are calling you every name in the book. They're throwing food at you. They get some blessings too, but they get cursed a whole lot more than they get blessed. And at the end of the day, they are just beat up. And their families, whether, you know, maybe they stole a credit card or something, their families push them away. They feel like they're hated, but they're just pushed away because they have to do tough love because they can't trust them anymore. So they feel unloved, unworthy, and they're beat up every day. And that's really, from my point of view, it's spiritual warfare. It's the devil crushing them, putting them on the ground, and just saying, "No, you don't amount to anything." And go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's just so where the church without walls comes in is when we introduce them to Christ, we introduce them to hope, and we build on that. We encourage them, and then now we're obviously building a network where other people are coming into it and they're encouraging. We have 10 fairly regular people from other churches that are no longer with other churches. They've made Church Without Walls their church, and they're not homeless. They're there because they love serving. And Bob Paff and I talk often about servant leadership. I mean, in particular about Baltimore and a cesspool that it's become because there's no leaders. But, you know, on the national scale, it's the same thing. You have everybody that gets up there and talks, but no servants. Wait, I'm pretty sure, though, we did have a president that made some things happen and didn't take an income. I don't know if that was, maybe that's a rumor. I don't know.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth. But yeah, now it's only a past dream. Do you find people? How many people do you see that come through your door, or not door, but in your space, that actually get there? What's the rate of the average, if any, people making their way out and actually, you know, getting out of the rut they're in? Because I feel like most of these people are just trying to fill a hole like that when they're, you know, from the drug abuse to everything else. Something went wrong, something's wrong, and they can't see the light of day to see their way out anymore. And so they just keep piling on what's easier. It's easier to be, you know, just get high.
Right. Well,
many
some
people?
of them are afraid of success and some are afraid of failure. But we get about 20 a year get off of drugs. Now they'll be on a maintenance program with methadone, which I'm not crazy about that, but because it's another drug and it's not being used the way it was intended. They're supposed to be on it and then eventually dozed off, but it's a lifetime maintenance program for a lot of them. Out of that 20, 7 make it that stay out there. The ones come back, and then maybe about the third or fourth time that they get out of the woods, then they make it permanently. Oftentimes 2 or 3 out of the 20 that come back will be in that 20 a year that die. And that's the hard part. I mean, I found that like last year, around October, November, in this one area where we have our church, 4 people died. A 24-year-old girl, everybody knew Chelsea. She was a prostitute. She didn't die from an overdose. She went into the city to get drugs and she was raped and murdered. Another man, Rick, he overdosed on one of our outreaches and we Narcaned him. His whole thing was he could never get over the anguish of losing his twin brother to suicide. And I mean, everybody's got a story, but in this small group, 4 people died in 6 weeks, 3 from overdoses, 1 was murdered. It shook the community, but then 10 people accepted Christ right away after that, because when they recognize their own mortality, they want to know that there's something else. And oftentimes homeless will accept Christ and 2 weeks later die. One time in 6 years ago in a camp, a man died and another man back there really liked the guy. Well, he was one of those type of guys that everybody said he doesn't stand a chance. Well, he accepted Christ. 2 weeks later, he died. And the guy that in the tent next to him, when he found him and rigor mortis had set in, it freaked him out. He'd seen overdoses, but not death, not that far gone. And there were 2 twins that lived in a tent that for 2 years never came out to talk to me. They'd stick their hand out and say, "We'll take some food, Pastor Ray." I never met them. When this guy died, I was talking to one of the other guys. I felt a tap on my shoulder and he said, "I need Jesus." And the next day his twin did. And 11 people that week accepted Christ because death is so frightening to them when it's up close and personal. When they're shooting, they're not thinking about it.
Right. Most of your people, the people they're not living on the streets. Then they're living in. Are you in a rural area? I mean, what's the deal?
No, it's Rosedale. We serve Rosedale, Essex, Dundalk. These are smaller communities, maybe 20,000 people. It's like 8 miles outside of Baltimore. So they can't catch a bus to go into the city, get their drugs. And then there's some drug dealers out here too. So it's like a small town. I don't even know if that's like, even in California, you got little strip malls and stuff. Well,
Sure.
We've got those here, and behind there's woods. And if there's a train track, there's homeless. I told a pastor at a large church that I used to belong to that in a 5-mile area, there were 600 homeless people. He found that hard to believe. I said, "Well, come out with me." And in like 10 minutes, he saw 40 or 50.
What is it with the train tracks? Because here, same thing. I mean, where I live outside of LA, and there's a lot of homeless encampments. Not a lot, but enough to where it's noticeable along the train tracks. What's up with that?
It's mobility. Now, the homeless people here, they don't jump on the trains, but sometimes the trains stop to go and get something from the store, from Wawa or something. So they go near where they stop, and sometimes they will rob a container on a train. So like the main train here is CSX, and the CSX police patrol those tracks, and they've given them tickets. And it's not so much that they're worried about theft; they're worried about people dying. We had a lady in 2015. Her and her husband had been together for 13 years. They came to church. They accepted Jesus. They were doing good. They got off of drugs, but they were still homeless. And one night they got in an argument, so he got high and walked right into a train. It took 2 weeks for them to figure out who it was. She knew who it was, but it took the authorities 2 weeks to find enough of him to be able to do DNA. It was tragic. And the guy had 5 kids.
Yeah.
Most of these homeless guys have kids. Now they're not in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like with their parents or foster care or something like that.
Let's talk about foster care. Now it's all kind of coming together, because I know you're aware that several weeks ago I had Cheryl Williams from the foster care lady, and you happened to chime in and you said, "Great show. I see where it's kind of touching home now."
Yeah, absolutely. So I went through I think 30 some foster homes from the time I was 11 until I was 16. When I was 16, I sued the state of Colorado and became emancipated, or a legal adult. And when I left my foster home, I went out and I worked a couple of jobs and tested out of school a couple of years early. Not because I was smart. They thought I was dumb and put me in special ed. And it was a biology class. I went in and I dissected a frog perfectly without any instruction. And he sent me back and said, "Well, maybe you're not special ed." And I said, "No, I'm bored. They're just taking it too slow. I'm not bright, but I'm not dumb either. And I don't like their pace." So they said, "Well, it'll take you at least 2 years to test out." And I said, "No, if it's self-paced." And I did it in 6 months.
How do you go through 30 families in how many years?
From the time I was 11 until I was 16.
That's only 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? I mean, is it just temporary or bad deal?
There were 4. They called them long-term foster care for where there's nobody that wants you, and they adjudicated me as a CHIN, or a child in need of supervision. Again, I was bored in school. So when I finally I was in the foster care system, they gave me somebody to kind of look after me, a lawyer, and he actually listened to me. He says, "Would you mind seeing a doctor with me?" We saw a psychologist. The psychologist said, "You're not dumb. Let's see if we can get you tested." And they agreed. The school board allowed me to test, and 6 months later I was done. But I went through the homes because my very first foster home, my foster father, the very first morning, said, "You used my towel." I said, "No, I didn't." He punched me, knocked me off of the bar stool in the kitchen. So I ran away. And my second foster home, one of my brothers was actually there, and he had left and gone back with my dad. So I'm feeling like, oh, nobody loves me. It was 5 Hispanic guys. And my initiation was for them to take me out behind the shed and beat the crap out of me to where I had to crawl into the house. And obviously that didn't work out for me. And just, things like that. I mean, it's, you learn to survive. It wasn't, I don't think it was a bad experience for me.
I had this question for her when she was on my show. And I said, I think there are people out there that take in foster children for the compensation financially. And she said, no, not really.
Oh,
what do you?
No, they definitely did. Well, they did when I was in foster care. One of the foster homes I was in, the parents lost a son in Vietnam, and they had one more son, and they got $550 a month. This was in late 60s. They got 500 and something a month for each kid in there. So they had 5 kids in 2 rooms, and their son had the basement apartment, got a brand new car every year. He was supposed to have, we were supposed to get new clothes and stuff. I got 3 pair of underwear. That's it. Now they fed us, but they made us work at a bank and clean this bank, which he was supposed to do, the foster father, for our meals. So yeah, it was a money machine back then. And I know in Baltimore City, it definitely is a money machine. Yeah. Now there's some good foster parents too, though.
That's what I was going to say. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of loving, caring people, and God bless them. But there is, there's good and bad in everything, every angle of life. I mean, and I just kind of brought that up, and because she had a tough life, and so she's out there trying to stick up for the helpless, just as you in a different. Well, you watched the show, you saw the show,
yeah,
and I just I had no idea that you were a foster child. And
yeah, well, my last foster father, I was working in a restaurant. I was 14 years old, and this is an old man, 65 years old, my age. he came into the Williams Cafe, and he cooked on Sundays after church, and he'd say, "Raymond, what are you doing here?" And I told him my story, and he said, "Do you want to come live with me?" I said, "Sure." Well, he went and applied, and they rejected him. They said he was too old. So he sued Colorado and became the oldest licensed foster parent in the state. The man never told me what to do one time. He said, "I'd like you to call me at night if you're not going to be home by midnight." He said, "There is a curfew. You could get in trouble." Peter, I went to church with him. I walked to the grocery store and carried the groceries for him because he loved me unconditionally. And that was the first example I ever had of that. And I wanted to be like him. His son was a 5-star general in the Air Force, and he was the commander of whatever the Air Force base is in Wyoming. I mean, he did it right. He knew how to do life, and he put God first, and that kind of reinstilled. I was saved when I was 8 years old. That's when I accepted Christ. I didn't live like a Christian my whole life, but I depended upon God, particularly like in foster care and stuff. I prayed so much. Yeah. So, I mean, those kind of things obviously do shape what you do later on.
Still in touch with him?
No, he passed away years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he was one of the good ones.
Yeah, he was. He's one of the, I would say one of my 3 favorite people in my life. You know, we all have heroes, and he would have been one to me.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Wow. Again, you know, it's, I mean, people, there's many directions people can take in their lives. I mean, and you know, it's the extreme is what you're talking about, cold in the woods with snow, living in a tent. And these people that are living in these tents, are they like, is that like do they think like, okay, that's okay, it's just the norm, and you know, this is okay?
Well, one of the guys that we interviewed last week, and I've known him for 4 years now, he just, when I was talking to him about getting out of the woods, I said, you know, we say that the want has to be greater than the need, meaning I have to want to get out of the woods and off of drugs more than I need a shot or need my dope, whatever their drug of choice or alcohol is. And he said, "Oh, I want that, but I'm just not ready." So he confessed that we use the phrase institutionalized homelessness, and he, as well as many other people that we've been interviewing, have said that that's them. They're comfortable. And somebody posted on Facebook against me saying that I was doing a disservice by providing them with tents and blankets and stuff. So when I was interviewing a guy that's in recovery, he's 4 months clean now. 4 months ago, he was walking down the tracks begging for a tent and a sleeping bag, and we took care of him. He's clean now. And I mentioned this to him, and he said, "Do you honestly think somebody in their addiction is going to be influenced by a tent? I slept underneath bridges, on park benches, or wherever I fell out. I didn't give a rat's ass." This is what he said. He didn't care. A tent doesn't do that. From my point of view, the tent is just an expression of Christ's love. They need to, and you know, I try to share with the team and the people that join us, always bring Christ into the equation. Don't ever leave a conversation with a homeless person without a prayer and without a hug. And I got to tell you, I've taken people out on outreach that they were afraid to touch homeless people. And after one time out, I said, "You can't do it anymore." Why? Because if you can't just accept them for who they are, like they're worried about germs and stuff like that. I get that. If you're a germaphobe, fine. Then you're in the wrong ministry.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people, it's like, you know, they're stinky, they're smelly, or they don't bathe, or how do they, you know, I mean, so people freak out.
So I pick up today 4 people to bring to the Church Without Walls. I drive 8 miles to pick them up. And one guy's got this dog named Big Head. Big Head is a rough old dog. And man, he stinks. Like when they get out of my car, I open all the windows. I keep this air freshener. I spray the whole car.
I'd be freaking out.
But you know what? When I'm with them, they don't know that it bothers me. I hug them. and I'll hug them hard. You know, man, I love you. I love you. I love you. If you think about it, Peter, when we have the luxury to go into our air conditioned homes or our heated homes and all the blessings that we have, for me to go out, like we go out 6 times a week, to go out and love on somebody, that's nothing. And it's like the things that we buy, I don't really pay attention too much to how much I spend. I probably spend $1,700 a month of my own money. I'm not rich. I'm retired. But people, like there's a awesome man from Johns Hopkins that loves this ministry. He and his wife donate $300 a month. People that come to the church, they do like $30 a week or $20 a week. At the end of the month, there might be $500 or $600 that's donated, which is awesome. We wanted to do heaters for Christmas, but it's cold now, so we already started distributing. I take my little money and buy some heaters because I know God will take care of it. I'm not wanting for anything. You know, I'm not rich. My car has 244,000 miles on it, but it's in great shape. It runs good because I take care of it. So when we put things like a post on Facebook, it's not to glorify homelessness and you know, the Bible even says, let your good works be in private. Well, the way the world is now, when I post something on Facebook, it's the same way that you were interested in it. People pick up the banner and they say, hey, what can I do? That's how we got a carload of clothes last week, you know? And people one of Bob Pass listeners, she became my friend. And yesterday she said, you know, I've been following you for a while. How can I support you? And I said, Cash App or Venmo? I said, Venmo, okay. And $50 was in my account, you know? I mean, it's obviously, I had a homeless guy that was strung out on heroin say, you're exploiting the homeless. And so I said, yeah, okay. So here, you want to pick up the tab? It's $250 plus tip. And we do this 4 times a month, you know? Well, today we took my famous chicken, but I mean, the only thing that we want to do is we want people to realize, because so many people in this community and in every community in America, there's a large segment, I would say probably 90 to 95% of Americans have no clue of what's lurking in the shadows of the woods or in the cities in abandoned houses where people are in there doing it. And you know, there's a large segment that would just condemn people, saying they're stupid, they're bums, they're lazy bums and stuff like that. The biggest disservice you can do is when somebody's out panhandling is to give them money. Drive around the corner, pick them up something to eat, and say, you're really hungry? I'll go get you something. You need some clothes? I'll get you some. But to give them money, they're just going to feed their habit. But 95% of Americans have no clue. They see, like in Los Angeles, they know about Skid Row from a distance, most of them. But like when I told this pastor that there were 600 homeless in 5-mile radius, he didn't believe it. I took him out, and in 5 minutes, he saw 30. Maybe 50, I don't know. Now, it's not as widespread right now because a lot of them, because of COVID, they were taken into through grants and stuff, put into hotels and then into apartments.
That'll come to an end eventually.
Well, sure, but you'll get another stimulus check. And don't get me into this poverty mentality.
That's what I'm saying. The thing is, here's the thing. Because we're already blowing through time, and I want to talk about how to get a hold of you and what people can do, because I do believe that we live in a very blindfolded world, and people just aren't aware because, you know, you're living your life, and that's like, you know, that doesn't concern them, but they have no clue about it. And I think awareness and is very important. Do you have people that used to be somebody that were functional, that or do you have, and then fell into hard times and just got used to hard times? Or do you have people that like never really had a chance?
Well, in the local communities that I serve, they were construction guys and guys that had houses and wives, and they lost it. When I went to Vegas in the tunnels, a lot of former executives that went from another state out there, they gambled away everything. They drew from their savings account, and they talked to their wives, and their wives said, don't come back. A lot. I mean, when I say a lot, in the short term, the 6 days I was there, to meet 5 people with that same story was pretty incredible.
Gambling addiction.
Yeah. One was a vice president of a bank. living in the
I have-
tunnels now.
Lo and behold, I had a show. We had Arnie Wexler from New Jersey. He's got on gambling addiction. I mean, he had a hell of a story.
Right.
You don't think about it, but addiction is addiction. If you go down, you go down.
Right.
Wow. All right. Look, here's what I want to do. I want people to know how to get a hold of you. If anybody wants to, how can people help you to help the helpless, so to speak?
Well, probably financially, or we have people that send clothing and stuff through the mail. Reach out to me on my email, which is my name, Ray Poellot, Poellot at Comcast.net, or go to my Facebook page, which is Pastor Ray Poellot. It's just have to look on your little tag there to see how to spell it, Poellot, and tell me that you watched the show, and we'll connect, and we'll just discuss different ways that you could help. And there's a lot of people that can't help monetarily or with goods. I'm telling you, we totally believe in the power of prayer. This ministry in the last 6 months has multiplied 10 times, and it's growing and growing and growing. We had a lady the other day that wanted us to go and rent a church. We don't want a church. We've gone that route before. We want the church without walls. We just had a logo designed. I'll get the final on Monday for that. But we're not running this like a business. We're just going out to help people.
Just cost money.
Yeah, I mean, we'll expand it if we get the resources that go beyond what I can give. Then we'll expand it, and we'll hit the city. I mean, it's like cities like Baltimore, Los Angeles, New York, DC. They all got the same problem. Everybody has a story. There's a high level of brokenness out there. Everybody needs God.
Yeah. I get it. Not everybody you can reach. Some men you just can't reach.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. But you can try. You can
That's
try.
right.
And you'd be surprised in little ways, again, about giving, just us getting together. I'm curious that if anybody gets a hold of you, if they should mention, say, hey, I saw you on the Peter G show, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Say,
I'll definitely follow up.
Yeah, what could I do to help? They say, because this is what I can do to help. Because you caught my eye, and I do a lot of thinking, and maybe that's my fault. I think too much, and really get myself in a all bound up, because there's just so much going on. We're living in tough times, and they're not getting any easier right now.
Well, you and Bob have that in common, because he's like a thinking machine. All these things going on, wanting to get the story out there.
Yeah, well, I do have a voice, and I said to myself, that's okay. That's something I can do, because I was interested, because you got me, and I don't live in a bubble, but a lot of people just have no clue. Just so, like, you think everybody's complaining. I mean, everybody's got different zeros on their value of their bank accounts or whatever, if you have a bank account. And so you can have the same size headache over $10 million or $10. I mean, but the actuality of the whole deal is there's a lot of people that money. I mean, they need more than money. They need care. Oh, real quick, and then we got to go. Unfortunately, I watch you to where not only do you go out and give them things, but you've tended to people's wounds, like people who are their feet are like, in horrible condition. And I mean, that really got me. Real quick, I mean, you're not a doctor or anything, but you changed their, you tell the story, because I saw it and I go, holy crap.
No, I mean, it's happened a few times, but I think the one that you're talking about with the real bad foot was George. His feet got wet, then he stubbed his toe. It cut. He's an alcoholic. His legs swell up. He gets cellulitis, and his toe, he couldn't put a shoe on anymore, and it was rotting off of him. So I put on my gloves and mask, obviously, and pour saline solution on there to rinse it out. And I mean, it could get. I mean, his foot was filled with maggots. I mean, it was awful. But we got rid of them all and wrapped it up. And then I told him, I said, we got to get an ambulance for you. No, I'm not going in an ambulance. I said, well, yeah, you are, because they're already on their way. And when they came, they said, George, what are you doing now? They knew him by name. And he ended up being in a hospital for 6 weeks, not from his toe, but from cellulitis. His flesh was dripping off of his legs. So, I mean, yeah, I sound pretty calm right now, but at the end of the day, I often have a good cry because it just breaks your heart. These are mothers, brothers, uncles, sons, daughters. I mean, there's a connection, but because of their addiction or their mental impairment, that connection is broken and they're just alone. And I had a lady cuss me out one time for helping the homeless. She said these drug addicts hang around. And I said, what if you had a brother or a sister, aunt, uncle, or a niece or a nephew? Come to find out, she has nieces and nephews that she loves dearly, and it changed her. And she came to know Christ as a result of that. She wasn't homeless. She was out there cussing me out.
Right.
So, I mean, you do what you got to do. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I'm not going to let somebody sit there and foot wounds with homeless are happens all the time.
Did he live?
Yes. He came to church when he got out of the hospital. He's still out there. He lives in a particular shopping center, has a shopping cart and all his stuff on there. And I'll take him some new pants and he'll wear them until they're soiled, and then he'll throw them away and somebody else will give him another pair. I mean, that's his life, but we still go and love on him and give him a hug. And it's hard to hug somebody like that. They stink. And like we had a guy that in the city, he fell out from drugs and he cracked his head, and for all intents and purposes, he was dying. So I picked him up. There was nothing moving, so I just punched him in the chest as hard as I could, and he came to, and I held a bandage over him until the ambulance got there. The guy that he was with across the street died. So yeah,
it's a tough one. And again, not everybody can do what you do, and that's why I'm hoping that I can bring this to somebody's attention to pay attention to, like, life. There's a lot of good people in this world that just had been dealt the wrong hand of cards, and you're there to try and help them help themselves.
Right.
And through love. I think love is a really big word. I think it's the biggest word in my vocabulary or in my heart. Love is, I think at the end of my show is love you guys, and I do, it's really weird because I try to wish a lot of people happy birthdays that are on my show through Facebook, that when it shows their birthdays, and even the guys, I hit the love button.
Right.
And it doesn't mean, I love you. It means I love you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just love, and love is very important. Tell everybody one more time how they can get a hold of you, how they can help, if they can do anything, if anything, just follow you on Facebook, but tell them how they can do that. Because unfortunately we got to go. Time is up, but we will do this again. I promise you that much. Yeah.
So it's Pastor Ray Poellot, Poellot on Facebook, and just hit me there, or my name, Ray Poellot at Comcast.net. Connect that way, and we'll figure out how we can help each other. Because we're just looking for people that love these folks, and anything they can do to help, including prayer, which is like the most important thing, we appreciate. And Peter, I'm so grateful to you and humbled by this privilege and honor. And thanks to Bob for connecting us.
Yeah, it's just the way it all works out. And some things I think I miss out on, but this is one that I did not. And I thank you for giving everybody the time and for your service, not only for your military, regardless of whether you think you were doing the easy stuff in the Marines, but the bottom line is you were in there. Anything could have gone any direction, and you may not have been here had it not been for the way life is. Your life was destined to be, and here you are doing for the homeless, the helpless. Would you say the lost? What's your phrase?
Homeless, helpless, and broken.
And broken. And believe me, I know, God bless it, I know some broken people, and they're functional, but sometimes I wonder. And so you dealing with the it's hard. It cannot be easy, and people look down to them, and you are willing to open your arms to them. So God bless you. And I thank you for being on the show. And I think next time after the first year, there's a lot of changes going on with us routinely, unfortunately, or fortunately. And maybe I'll have you, Bob, and we'll just do a group show just because I think the banter will be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. All right, Peter, you have a good one. Thank you so much.
thank you for staying up late. And again, God bless you for your work. I don't hold a candle to you, but I'm doing the best I can.
You just hold a different candle. We all have like
Mine's a firecracker.
the Bible says, "So let your light shine." And
Well,
you do it.
yeah, it's shining all right. All right, thank you again, and again, thank you for staying up late. And let's obviously we're going to keep in touch. So let's see how this whole thing works out. Please share all this. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I hope.
Okay, you got it. Thanks.
Good night. I'll see you later. Huh? Count your blessings, people. For those of you who watch this show or are watching this show, fortunate enough, believe me, I don't think the people living in the woods are watching this show. I don't think Pastor Ray's people that are living in the woods are watching this show at all. But he goes out there because they're so disconnected and tries to keep them connected. Because people lose reality and they just live in that. You just start huddling into your own virtual reality. And a lot of those people are just addicted to drugs. They just get high, they zone out and survive. So do what you can. Go to Pastor Ray's Facebook page, contact him, touch base, build his audience. Let's get the message out there. It's all we can do. Raising awareness. I think awareness is probably the biggest problem, lack of awareness, whether it's with how you run your life or how you lead by example. It's important. So that's a very important thing. I want to thank Pastor Ray again for coming on. Help him out. And I don't need anything from this. All I need is for you to, and again, everybody's struggling. Prayers, my daughter gets so sick of me. Every time she gets out of my sight or off the phone, the last thing, I swear, I'll do it till I die, I guess. And it's like, prayers, please. It's like, yeah. But one day it'll sink into her and she will forever remember that. And I'm not Mr. Go out and preach to the world, but I am pretty spiritual, religious, to the point where I give thanks several times during the day within myself. You don't have to be a pulpit, TV evangelist with Maseratis. Somebody in Texas who has a stadium and has to pay for that stadium through your money so he can have a house the size of something in Beverly Hills. I'm not going to mention names, though. Sure. I don't know. But I'm just saying, there's lots of good people doing good work out there, and I want you to do it. And again, I've been told by the higher authority, go out and voice what you can so people can hear what they don't know. Okay, I'll try. I know you will. Just don't forget. I won't. I'm grateful for everything. I really am. The holidays, it's like, again, doesn't matter the holidays or not, but the holidays, people go down even deeper. So please, love. I can't, Pastor Ray said it, I'm saying it, love. Do just try to be open-minded and don't shelter yourself and cancel yourself into some part that you just forget what that people are struggling. People need a hug. Do people need somebody when you're walking by somebody, look them in the eyes and smile at them? I walk where I'm at and it's amazing. And I taught my daughter this, and she's still pretty good about it. But, I taught her since she was very, very little to look somebody in the eye. And you don't know what's going on in the heads of somebody else. It blows my mind when I walk by somebody, and we are the only two people, and they're just walking, and they're walking. And I go out of and I go, hi. And I smile. Just to try to it's like we're just people. And life is short. And it's getting shorter. So please. Don't forget, people, I'm going to break out my flashcards again, all right? Because I just found them. I'm breaking it out from the archives. Peter G Show has a podcast. Finally, all the Peter G shows that you can visually see are going to podcast now, and they are all on iTunes. So if you want to listen in the car, because I got a lot of people that go, you know what, Peter, look, it's late. You know, I love you to death. I got to go to bed. I got to go to work. But, you know, God, I wish you had a podcast. I can listen to you while I'm at work. I can listen to you while I'm driving my 40-minute commute in the car. iTunes. Peter G Show. Oh, podcast. Peter G Show. Go find it. And then and subscribe. It's free. Eventually, we'll be back on YouTube, I hope, if they don't completely can me. But all we can do is do the best we can. I'm just trying to do what I can. Next week's another week. God willing, we will see you next week. Subscribe to any of the LinkedIn, the official Facebook Peter G Show, YouTube. You can still subscribe there. Find me on Instagram. We don't do the long shows on Instagram or TikTok, though. It's very limited, but it's still a part of us. Very big part. And just go find it and do that, okay? I mean, just do it. And again, if you got people that you know that have a story, where the hell am I? Oh, there we are. If you got people that have a story that are going through hard times or something like that, please don't think your story is not important. It could be so important. Share it on this show. Your story may help somebody else from going over the edge. I promise you. I've lived it. I've learned it. I'll stick by that. It's the truth. Do not think you're not important or your story is not important. Let us decide. Life is just too damn short. I want to thank everybody for being here, as always. Just be kind. Be kind. You don't have to be taking a bunch of shit from people, and the world is full of people that are just full of shit and trying to push it on others. Be sensible. Think before you speak. Lesson I'm slowly learning. Think before you bark. Think before you speak. You don't have to be an asshole, but you don't have to take any shit from anybody. Life is too damn short. My name is Peter G. I love you for being here as always. See you next week. Share with people. Bring it all out here. I want to know you're watching. Your comments are good. Even if you disagree with me, I'm listening. I am. From my house to yours, from our home to yours, from our friends to yours, from our business to yours. I love you guys. Peace out.
Peter G Show, Peter G Show, divorced dad, single dad.